Okay, so in this particular lecture, let's go ahead and let's actually learn how we could trigger this particular view, which is the like post view whenever we click this particular button right here. Now, there are multiple ways to do this, but the way in which we are going to do it is by using jQuery and Ajax. So we are basically going to get access to this particular documents object, which is this button right here. And whenever a click event happens on this particular button, we want to trigger an action. And that action is to basically go ahead and submit a post request to the URL, which is this URL right up over here. So let's learn how to do that. So first of all, let's inspect this particular element right here. So if we inspect this, this is what the button currently looks like. So the button is nothing but it's simply an image. And right now what we want to do is we basically want to enclose this particular image inside of an ahref tag. And there's a specific reason to do that as well. So let's first go to VS Code and let's go to feed.html. Let's actually go ahead and search for that like image which we have, and we have it right up over here. So we'll go ahead and create an ahref tag, and the href attribute for this thing is going to be empty, but I'm still going to take this like image and kind of paste it up over here. Now the reason why we are doing this is because right now if I hit refresh and whenever we click this particular like button, what we essentially want to do is we want to get the ID of the post which is associated with this. Now the reason why we want to do that is because if you take a look at the view here we actually need that post underscore ID from here. So in order to get this particular post underscore ID, first of all we should associate that ID with every post which we have. So here I'll go back to feed.html, and in order to associate post ID here, I will simply go ahead and add an ID to this href, and here I would say the ID is going to be post.id, and the class for this thing is going to be btn like. And now the reason why we have associated this class is because we are now going to be using jQuery, and jQuery is going to go ahead and get access to this particular element, and it's going to look out, or it's going to basically wait and watch for a click events to happen on this particular btn underscore like. So now let's go ahead and let's add jQuery. So in order to add jQuery, you could either download jQuery, or other best thing which you could do is that you could simply go ahead and get jQuery's CDN, which is the content delivery network. So you could basically get the jQuery CDN link and add it to any of the HTML files which you have here, so that HTML will be able to use jQuery. So let's go to Google. I'll search for jQuery, and if I go to jQuery, and here we actually want the CDN, so let's directly go on jQuery CDN, and here you'll be able to get this CDN link for jQuery. So here you could actually go ahead and get the uncompressed jQuery link. So I'll copy this, and now so as to make jQuery functional across all the entire web pages, I'll actually paste this particular jQuery link in the base.html file. So the base.html file actually is present up over here, so I'll go right there, and you actually have to paste this particular link in the head tag. So I'll go ahead, paste this jQuery link in the head tag which we have here, and we should be good to go. So once this thing is done, now we could use jQuery in any of the HTML pages which we have, because all the HTML page are anyways inheriting from the base.html. Okay, so now once we have jQuery, we could now write some JavaScript code in here. So right where the card ends, which is right up over here, right after this div, I could go ahead and add a script tag which is going to contain the jQuery or JavaScript code. So I would say script. And the reason why we are adding a script tag here at the bottom is because we want to execute the script when all the content of this page is actually loaded. So here I would say script, the type is equal to text / JavaScript. And then what we do is, in order to ensure if this script is actually working, I'll simply write a simple JavaScript statement like console.log, and I would say something like this is working. Now let's go back to that page, which is the feed page. I'll inspect this, open up my console here. Let's hit refresh, and when we hit refresh, it would say this is working. Okay, so once this thing is done, we are pretty much good to go. That means now we could go ahead and add any kind of JavaScript code in here. So you could either comment this thing out or you could delete it. So I'll comment this thing out. And then let's first get access to the like button which we have. So the like button here is nothing but it's actually this button right here, or this image right here enclosed in the ahref tag. So we could get access to this entire thing by making use of this btn like class which we have. So here, in order to get access to that, first of all, I'll get access to the document. So I would say $document. So this is jQuery and you don't have to worry about this. So document on, and we are looking for the click event, and we are looking for the click event on a class which is btn like. So whenever we are using class, I would say dot btn dash like, and then here I would say that whenever this click event happens on btn like, in that particular case I would execute some kind of code, and that code needs to be defined in the function. So I would say function here, and then I would mention all the code for that particular thing up over here. So let's see what we want to do whenever the click event happens. So whenever the click event happens, we basically want to get the post ID, and the post ID is nothing but it's actually this ID which is associated with this one. So now in order to get access to this, here I simply have to say this dot ID and it will actually give me access to that ID. So if you don't believe that, I would console log that. So I would say console dot log, and let's say this dot ID, and let's see what do we actually get there. So I'll again inspect this, open up the JavaScript console. So whatever JavaScript results we have, they are going to show up over here. And right now it's not actually showing up any kind of like button. So let me minimize this. So when I click on this button, as you can see, even though it's not visible because we have not made it responsive, when I click the like button of the first post, I'll get 1 here. So let me actually minimize this. Okay. And now if I go to the second post here, if I click on that one, I'll get the ID of that post. So again, if I go back here, I'll click on this one, I'll get the ID of this one. Let's click on this one, I would get the ID as 3. That means now we are successfully getting that post ID. So now let's save this post ID into some kind of a variable. So I'll create a variable called as post underscore ID. And I would say that this is this dot ID, which means it gets the ID of the current post which we have. And now here, once we have this post ID, now we simply have to go ahead and submit a URL request to the URL pattern, which is like. So the URL pattern which we are looking for is /posts/like, and we basically want to make a post request here. So now in order to make that particular request, let's write some Ajax code in here. So here, in order to write Ajax, I would say $.ajax, and then I'll write some code in here. So first of all, as we want to make a post request on a specific URL, I would say method as post, which means that we want to make an Ajax post request. And then you want to specify the URL where you want to make that request. So I would say URL, and I want to make a request on /post/like. And whenever we are making this post request on this URL, we also want to pass in some data as well. So for example, we want to pass in the post ID here because that's what is actually needed up over here, which is post ID. And that ID is ultimately extracted from the post request. So we also need to pass that post ID over here as well. So in order to pass that thing in, I'll add a data parameter here. And I would say that the post underscore ID is going to be nothing but post ID, which is from here. So we have passed this, but also as we are making a post request, we also need to ensure that we pass in a CSRF token as well. That means we have to first create that token. So I would say window dot, that's going to be CSRF underscore token is equal to, that's going to be nothing but CSRF underscore token. Okay, so once this thing is done, now we could pass in that token here. So here I would say CSRF middleware token, and this is going to be nothing but window.csrf token. Okay, so once this thing is done, we are pretty much good to go. Now what happens is whenever I click a particular button, this post request is going to be submitted and this view is going to be triggered, which is going to take the logged in user and it's actually going to take the post and add that particular user to the liked by of that post. So let's see if this thing works. So I'll first of all hit refresh. Now we are actually logged in as the super user, and now let's try clicking this button right here. So I'll click here and we do get some error here. So let's see what kind of error do we have. So now the problem here is that in the view which we have not returned anything. So if I go to the view, which is this, we have made this particular function and we are not returning anything up over here as of now. So we are going to do that, but let's see if the like is actually added. So I'll go to the admin here and I'll go to posts and I want to take a look at the post for Pat, and Pat has this post which is called as title. So if I go to title now, as you can see, this particular user is now highlighted. That means this particular user has liked Pat's post. And now if I go back to the browser, let me go back, hit refresh on this one, and let me click on this one more time and let's see what happens. So when I click on this one more time, we do get an error because of that return statement. But now if I go back here and hit refresh, as you can see, that like from here is removed. And if I again emulate that action one more time, let's see what happens. So I'll click here. Now we do get an error. But if I go back here, hit refresh, that user again liked that particular post by Pat. That means the like functionality is working well. Now the next thing which we need to do is, in order to avoid that error, I simply have to add a return statement here. So I would want to return redirect, and I want to redirect to a specific URL. So let's say I want to return back to this feed page. So I would say return redirect feed, and we have not imported redirect. So let's do that real quick. So here from Django.shortcuts, I would say import redirect. Now that error should be fixed and we should no longer have any error here. So let's click on this icon right here. And as you can see, nothing happened. Let's see if the status here changed. Yeah, that actually changed to unlike. Let's click on this one. Now it will say liked. Now let's go ahead and log out, and then let's log in as Rob123 and let's see if Rob is actually able to like this post. So here I'll go back, log out. Let's try logging in. So I'll log in as Rob here, Rob123. Password is super user. Let's log in. Now let's go to feed. That is posts/feed. Okay, let's go down to this particular Pat's post and I'll now click on this icon. And now the admin won't be accessible because we are logged out. So we again have to log back in as admin. So I'm logged back in. Let's go to posts. Let's go to Pat's post. And as you can see now inside liked by, it's also showing up a Rob123 as well, because now Rob has actually liked this post. That means the like functionality is working absolutely fine. But now the main problem here is that whenever a particular user clicks on this one or this particular icon right here, the user is not able to see if the post is liked or not because the icon is not changing any color. So in the next lecture, let's go ahead and let's see how to change the icon's color to red when the post is liked and when to keep it white when the post is unliked. So let's implement that functionality in the next one.